Hi, this is Sarah from Sassy Reads, and I'm here to talk more about books that I read in 2016. I have two graphic novels to start off with that I got from the publishers for review. The first one is I Hate Fairyland Volume 1, and I'm sure you've heard about it before. It's gotten a little bit of hype around BookTube as well as on the internet. It's super gory, super fun, it's really dark. It follows a girl who entered Fairyland at a young age, and she's been there forever. She's 34 years old now, and she's become the villain of Fairyland. She's the mass murderer. It's really dark, really violent, a lot of fun. I love the art style because it's like really fun, fluffy unicorns and then like covered in blood, and it's really cool. It's a good juxtaposition. 5 stars. I really enjoy it. And then the next story, well, it's not a story, it's a graphic novel. This one is called Paper Girls Volume 1. It's by Brian K. Vaughan. This one, I really enjoyed it personally. I gave it 4.5 stars, but since I read it so long ago, my memory is a little fuzzy. I still remember a lot of the key concepts of it, but I want to reread this volume before I pick up the next the series, because I don't want to be lost. I do remember it left on a cliffhanger. I really liked how it followed such a weird sci-fi story. It was really cool, interesting, and it was just so different from what I usually read. And I'm just a fan of Brian K. Vaughan's graphic novels in general. And then the next story, well, it's not a story. This one is a novel. So this one happens to be, I think, my favorite fantasy novel that I've read all year. Like, it even beat out A Court of Mist and Fury for me, which I was surprised because, like, after much deliberation and thinking about it, Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marillier is one of the most beautiful stories I have ever read. It follows Sorcha, who is the 7th of her siblings. She has 6 older brothers, and her father is very, what's the word I'm looking for? He's very closed off from the family, and one day he brings home a wife who is obviously a witch. And her brothers are cursed into becoming swans, and she has to figure out how to save them. And the fairies give her this task of sewing, what is it called, stalwart, and it's like this really spindly thorns that cut into your flesh and poison you, and she has no voice anymore, so she can't communicate or anything. So it's just so beautiful. And not only that, but she also rescues her and her brother rescue this Briton, which they're Irish, and they get him back to health, and she ends up running into another Briton that turns out to have a connection to the one that she saved originally, and she ends up falling in love with one of them, and it's so beautiful. It's just, it's such a beautiful story. It's a little long, but to be honest, it didn't feel long to me at all. It made my heart happy. Thinking about it makes my heart happy. It's such a beautiful story. Yeah, it gets a little cliche with your average fantasy tropes, but it didn't feel like that because there weren't cliches when I was reading it. It felt like it stood on its own as a fantasy story. I felt like Marillier, even though she was inspired by another story about swans, that she turned it into her own tale, and it was so beautiful and magnificent. And that's what I loved about this. Even though it is a retelling, she was able to turn it into her own story, and it was magnificent. And I can't recommend this enough. Like, pick it up. It is so good. And then the next story I read, I listened to on audiobook, but I got my own copy of it because I want to reread it. It's called The Brides of Roll Rock Island. Oh, I can't talk. By Margot Lanigan. I gave this one, I think, 4? No. I gave this one 5 stars because it was really good. I just have to, like, reread the ending because I remember falling asleep. I remember everything that happened. It's just, I don't want to, like, write my review or anything for The Brides of Roll Rock Island until I've reread the physical copy, because I've noticed that if you read and you listen to books, your experience is very different, and I really enjoyed listening to the audiobook. It follows a town, well, it's more of an island in Scotland where there are Selkie women, and one day there's a witch, and she ends up pretty much, I guess you could say, she doesn't cast a curse, but she goes out and catches seal women and brings them back for the men, making well, basically getting her revenge. And it's a really beautiful story. It's very short. Like, it didn't feel that short when I was reading it, because it took me, I think, 4 or 5 months to listen to the audiobook. But it was really beautiful. I'm actually really looking forward to physically reading this one, because I really like Margot Lanigan's writing style, and I love Scotland, and I love the concept of this one, so I think it'll be fun to reread it. And then, the next book I have is Dark Descendant by Jenna Black. I read this one when it was available for free online on, like, one of those romance websites. It follows Nikki Glass, who has some type of inheritance to a Greek god. I think it's Artemis. Yes, she is related to Artemis. I give this one around 3.25 stars. Pretty conflicted on the rating. It was good, but it wasn't amazing. It was an urban fantasy story. I just expected a lot more out of it. It didn't give me what I wanted, and it felt really slow and just kind of clunky. But I think I may continue with the series. I don't know. We'll see. So those are some of the books that I read in 2016. Let me know if you've read any below, and I'll see you later. Bye.